Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Love, and I am the senior facilitator with Excellent Teen Choice. I have been working with the abstinence program, or actually in the abstinence industry, as some may consider it, for over 20 years. I'm very passionate about working with young people, and I'm thankful that you have decided to take a few moments and to review our programming. Every year, we have the wonderful opportunity to come into your schools and to present an abstinence program to your children. And so I'm very passionate about it, something that I feel very strongly about. And again, I've been doing it a long time, and I'm so excited to bring this program to you. If you're a parent and you're watching me right now, again, thank you so much for allowing your child to be a part of our program. You guys know that in our culture, things are changing a lot, and there's kids risky behavior is a lot more dangerous now than it was many years ago. There's so many more diseases and so many more things that our kids can be so many more things that our kids can be caught up in now. And so we want to help. I am working with Miss Sharon Robertson Jones. She is the executive director of Excellent Teen Choice. And so she's been so instrumental in helping to get this program to East Texas. And it's something that we don't take lightly. And so if you are a part of a school district that does not yet have the abstinence program, I encourage you to talk to your principals, your administrators, whoever you need to talk to get this program into your school, because it's certainly beneficial. So today I'm going to take a few moments and I'm going to share with you some of the components of our program, Excellent Teen Choice. We use a book, or we use a curriculum called Choosing the Best Curriculum. And so it's a curriculum like this, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that as we move through our processes today. So it's a research-based curriculum proven to reduce the initiation of teen sexual activity, because we don't want kids to get caught up. And it's not just abstinence from sex, it's abstinence from sex, drug, alcohol, and risky behaviors. And that's what we're promoting, and that's what we're pushing. I believe that our kids are smart. I believe that they can make intelligent decisions if they're given the right information. So part of our responsibility is to make sure your kids have the right information to make intelligent decisions. And we believe that they can. So on the screen, you'll see a couple of the books, Choosing the Best Life, Journey, and Path. And so all of our curriculum is age specific. So we want to make sure that we give your children age specific information. And so I'm going to take a little bit about what's in the book and how we initiate the programming. So again, according to the CDC, abstinence is the only 100% effective way to present HIV and other STDs and pregnancy. The only 100% way. And so that's my heart. That's what I believe. I want your child to abstain. I want your child to have the best life that they can. And there are many other persons out here like myself, many people even working with Excellent Teen Choice. We want your kids to make the best decision, and we want to empower them to make those decisions. So let's talk about some of our goals. The goal of the Excellent Teen Choice is, number one, to lower out of wedlock births through choosing abstinence. So we want your kids to be abstinent so that they're not having to be teen parents. We don't want your daughter to be a teen parent at age 15, 16 years old. We want to reduce that risk. And we don't want your teen son to be a teen father at 15 or 16 years old. It's happening around the world, and so we're so thankful for this program helping to reduce those statistics. Also, to lower unmarried sexual activity. So we want to lower that, because 1 out of 3, you'll see this in just a few moments, I'll explain this, 1 out of 3 sexually active teenager already has an STD. Many STDs that young people have, they don't know that they have it, because teens aren't going to the doctor regularly, not like adults are. And so they're passing these diseases on, and I'll share a little bit more about that later on. Also, to lower teen pregnancy rate. That's our goal, and to lower sexually transmitted diseases. So just in a nutshell, that's what we're here. That's why we're here. That's why we exist. And these are part of our goals. Now, quiz time. Let me give you some quizzes, because one of the things I enjoy doing is talking to parents and helping parents to maybe see, and some of you may know these answers, some of you may not. Here's question number 1. The majority of teens today are having sex. Yes or no? True or false? What's your answer? The majority of teens today are not having sex. True or false? I know what you're thinking, but here's the answer. The answer is true. You may have been thinking false. You may think that all kids are having sex, but the reality is that there's about 54, I think that stat has changed a little bit to maybe about 50, 54, 52, somewhere between 54 and 52% of teens are still virgins. So most of our kids are making good decisions. Because the media and society wants us to think that all kids are having sex and all kids are making bad decisions. And the reality is that many of our kids, most of our kids are making good decisions. And we want to empower those good kids and even to help change the kids that are not making such good decisions. Question number 2, 1 out of every 3 sexually active teen will contract an STD. True or false? 1 out of every 3 sexually active teen will contract an STD. What's your answer? What do you think? Well, let's look at it. The answer is true. The most common bacterial STD is chlamydia. The fastest spreading STD is HPV. That is the human papillomavirus, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that. Later on. So just remember that answer is true. 1 out of every 3. So if you get 3 sexually active teens, 1 of those sexually active teens is probably going to catch a disease. And I don't want that to be your child. I don't want that to be you. Okay. But before I go to the next question, if you are a parent, if you are an adult or a parent and you're watching this, I need you to do something for me. I need you to please type your name and the city you're viewing from. So please type your name and the city that you're viewing from, because that helps us. That helps us have gives us a calculation of how many people are watching and where you're watching this from. So please, if you are a parent, do me a favor. You're a parent or an adult, I want you to type your name and the city that you are viewing from. And I'll remind you again about that in just a few moments. Question number 3. Teens do not have to worry about contracting HIV and AIDS. What's your answer? Do teens have to worry about contracting HIV and AIDS? What's your answer? Well, do they have to worry about it? 1 in 4 newly infected persons have HIV under the age of 22. Think about that. So yes, teens have to worry about contracting HIV and AIDS. They should worry about it. And you should have conversations about your children, conversations with your children about HIV and AIDS. Have that conversation. Talk to them. Let them know that risk is still there. That risk is still very, very real. And teenagers are contracting HIV and AIDS, and it's at a rate that's scary to me. And I know that as a parent, at that same rate should be scary to you guys. Here's my next question. Okay, who's the biggest influence on your child? We know that kids are watching videos, they're listening to songs. There's so many artists out there, so many people that are reaching for the attention of your child. But here's the question. Who is the biggest influence on your child? Who would you say the biggest influence? There's so many people, rap moguls, family members, peers. Who would you say? Most parents believe that maybe some of their friends or maybe some famous movie star has the biggest influence on the child. But survey says that you are. Statistically speaking, most kids, when they are asked who has the greatest influence on their lives, 90% of the children say that it's you. It's the parent. When asked to rank 14 sources of influence that help teens decide between right and wrong, teens listed parents as being the most influential. You need to know that, because sometimes you feel like kids are not listening. Well, Johnny's not listening, and Susan, she's just doing her own thing. But no, kids are listening to you. They're listening to you. You just have to give them the right information or put them in front of the people who can give them the right information. That's where we come in. That's where we come in lovingly, helping your child, helping your kid to know that not only that you love them, but that you love them enough to give them the appropriate information. And it's okay to communicate to your teenagers that you want them to abstain. It's okay to communicate that. It's okay to communicate that in a very loving, very, very responsible and very intimate way with your children. Let them know, because your influence on their lives is greater than you think. Now let's talk about the big talk, Because a lot of parents come to me and they say things like, well, I have a hard time talking to my kid. I have a hard time talking. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to even go into that. I don't want my kid thinking about that. And that's been a misconception, because most parents say things like, well, I don't want to introduce something to my kid that they're not ready for. Let me tell you something. Your kids are being introduced to the big talk, whether you like it or not, whether you do it or someone else is doing it. They're hearing about it. Well, they're hearing about it in social media. They're hearing about it from their friends. They're hearing about it from their cell phones. I mean, it's all over the place. Kids are talking about sex, and they're talking about sex younger and younger and younger. And so don't think, mom, don't think, dad, that you don't want to expose your kid to something that they're not ready for. No, there's always age appropriate conversation that you need to start having with your child while they're young. And increase those conversations as they get older and as kids start asking questions. It is important for you to have that conversation. But let's talk about the big talk. Talking about sex is not just one big talk, because I've heard that said many times. We just having this one big talk. No. It's something that needs to happen early and happen often. A conversation with your kids needs to happen early and often. Some people say, well, at what age? Well, you can start talking to kids as early as 5 years old about good touch, bad touch. Even some kids 4. Some kids at 4 years old can understand good touch, bad touch. Stranger danger. Start having those conversations about, where it's okay to hold someone's hand, but it's not okay for a person to touch you in certain areas, and start having those conversations with your kids. Conversations about love and relationship and sex could begin as early as 6 years old and should continue through their teen years. So just kind of keep that in your mind, talking about love and what relationships are, the different types of relationships with your kids. A mom and dad relationship is different than an uncle and an aunt, or two uncles, or whatever the case. And so helping them to understand that there's a difference in the types of relationship, difference in a brother and sister relationship versus a man and a woman relationship who like each other. So start having those conversations with those kids. Also, if your child is old enough to ask questions, he or she is old enough to receive simple but correct answers. They're old enough to receive simple but correct answers. So keep that in your mind. Now, let's talk about negotiating dating standards or setting house rules. This is important. This is important as you are helping to grow those teens. I had a young lady in my office, her and her husband, about a week ago, and they came in. They're having so much trouble with their teens, and they're having so much trouble trying to figure out how to raise teenagers. And raising teenagers nowadays it's pretty tough. Because you're competing against so many things that's happening in the world. But number one, have some house rules. House rules are a very good way to let your teen know what you expect. They should be clear, fair, and consistently followed. Remember that. House rules have to be clear, they have to be fair, and consistently followed. That's important. Negotiating those house rules or those dating standards. What are the rules of the house? Communicate that, because most parents are reactive versus being proactive. Most parents wait until they hear that their teenager has a boyfriend or has a girlfriend, and now they want to jump into action. No, don't wait till that point. At that point, I'm not gonna say you waited too late, but you should have did something on the front end. You've got to become more proactive when you're working with your teenagers, and kind of set those dating rules and kind of set those dating standards. What are the standards? Let's talk about some of the house rules that you can set. Encourage supervised group activities. So when your teenager gets to that point where they're hanging out, they want to go out and they want to experience a little more freedom, encourage group activities, supervised group activities, where there's somebody who's there that's an older, a parent or uncle, aunt, whatever, even yourself, to go and to be there. As a matter of fact, I encourage you, if your kid wants to have friends, invite some of the friends over to your house so that you can be there. You can kind of supervise some of the things that they're doing. Know and support the group your team participates in. Go to volleyball games, football games, go to the CLE conference. So I'll tell you about that later. but go to those places, go to where those teens are, be a part of their lives, be a part of their group, know who your kids are hanging with, know who their friends are, know their friends by name. Their friends should know you by name. Get to know them. Know who your kids are hanging with. Secondly, is set an age for dating. Be clear that there'll be no dating before a particular age. If that's 15 or 16 or 18, I don't know what it is, but be very clear with your teenagers. One of the worst things you can do with the teenagers is give them spotted or vague information, and then you kind of leave it up to them to make their own decision. No, teenagers need very clear instruction. They need to know what your expectations are, because I believe that when we give them clear expectation, our kids have, kids that they'll conform, but you got to start that early. Make it clear that your teen will not date anyone more than 2 years older or younger than they are. Keep that in your mind, because we live in a culture now where older boys, especially older boys, kind of sometimes seek out younger girls, and sometimes younger girls seek out older guys, or vice versa. Sometimes it's a younger guy seeking out an older girl. And the problem with that is sometimes that older kid is a lot more experienced than your younger son or younger daughter. They're a lot more experienced, and they can kind of pressure them in ways that is very difficult to deflect or very difficult to resist. And so it's important that you, as you're communicating with them, that you communicate your age standard. And it's okay. They're not going to die. They're not going to pass out. They're not going to fall out. No, it's okay to communicate clear, concise dating standards. That's important. All right, let's talk about something else. Make sure your teenager is not spending a lot of time in unsupervised situations. Make sure that your teenager is not going away with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and there's no supervision. If they're at home with you and you're there and you have to leave, then the boyfriend or girlfriend has to leave. It's just a general rule. You make that a rule. Set rules against teens having boyfriends or girlfriends in your personal space, like your bedroom. Because what we're doing now for you as a parent is we're kind of helping you. We're kind of helping you get your teens thinking about abstinence and thinking about the importance of it. So we're helping you to help us. What the things I'm teaching you now, if you put these things in place, it strengthens what we're teaching in the classroom. And guess what? The things we're teaching in the classroom is going to strengthen what you're doing in the home. So it's one hand washing another. We're going to help you. We're going to help you to develop your team. We're going to help that team understand what focus is and how to focus on saving themselves and how to focus on making the best healthy decision for themselves. We're going to help you do that, but we need you at home. It takes a village to raise a child. So we need you as a parent at home, putting these things in place, talking to these kids. So when they come to our class and they see that what's happening in the home is what they're being taught in school. And that just really fortifies and strengthens that child's decision-making. Set clear guidelines for your teens' outings. Where will you be? What will you be doing? Who will you be with? When will you be home? How can I reach you? So if you need to take a screenshot of that. And those are questions. And yeah, kids are sometimes teenagers, Mom, you want to know, or Dad, you're all in my business. You don't have any business. You're a teenager. Yeah, your business is my business. I pay your phone bill. Yeah, I pay for that bed you sleep in. No, your business is my business. So be clear about your guidelines. Where will you be? Know where that teen is going to be. There's an amazing app called Life 360. I don't know if you guys know about that. Maybe you have a different app, but Life 360 is nothing wrong with being able to track your teen, track where they are, know what's happening with them, know where that cell phone is, know where those kids are traveling. Make sure those kids are where they say they're going to be. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you overprotective. It just says, no, there's a lot of things happening today, and I want to make sure that I do my best to make you safe. So keep that in your mind. So where will you be? What will you be doing? Who will you be with? When will you be home? How can I reach you? Make sure that those kids answer those questions before they go out. Make sure they answer those questions. Now, and lastly, no alcohol, no drug, no tobaccos, period. Period. Did you hear me? No alcohol, no drugs, no tobacco. And now we can add no vaping, no vaping. No vaping, no hookers, none of that. No hookahs or whatever you call it, none of that. No vaping, period. And make sure you're very clear with your teenagers about your expectations. Teenagers need to know what you expect from them. Because I think that when we expect more, kids achieve more. Let me say that again. When you expect more, kids achieve more. And that's what we're going in. All right. Be available to pick your teen up when he or she calls. If they're comfortable, if they're threatened in an environment or situation, have code words. Set a code word with your teenager. Maybe your teenager is at a party and they rode with someone. The person that they rode with is not ready to go, but they are, and they feeling uncomfortable. Maybe something happened. Maybe something was said, or maybe there's some drinking or smoking and something has happened. Have a code word with your teenager where they can pick the phone up or they can call you and say, "Hey, mom, um, um, are the birds still outside?" Well, when that may be a code word. Are the birds still outside? That may be the code word. Okay, and then you say something like, I don't know. Well, baby, yes, the birds are outside. Where are they located? And then she tells you where located. Next thing you know, you pulling up at the house because she just gave you the address. Have code words. That's something that you can set with your teenagers. Let them know that anytime they feel uncomfortable, no matter where they are, that you're on the way, that you're coming to get them. You'll come get them, and it just, I don't know, it empowers them to be able to go hang out, to experience a little bit of freedom, but just knowing that mom and dad is going to be right there if I need them. Set rules for what your teen can listen to, read, or watch. Consider keeping the TV and computer in a public area of your home, and you'll know what your teen is watching. Rules for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, etc. Have rules for these things. Don't just allow your kid to have so much freedom that they create a world that you're not aware of, because it can happen. Teens create worlds that their parents are totally unaware of. There's been teenagers who have become, who are that's it's kind of it's not a stretch, but it's really, I don't know. There's been teenagers who've planned assassination. Let me say it like that. They planned assassinations and their parents had no idea. There have been teenagers who were creating bombs in their rooms and the parents had no idea, because they had no inroad into that teen's world. They didn't know the music they were listening to. Take your kid's phone, listen to what they're listening to, pull that earbud out of their ear and pop it in your ear. So let me see what you're listening to, and listen to the music. What are they reading? What are they watching? Always keep access to all of your kids' electronic devices, so you always know what's going on with them. Set rules. If they have Facebook, you should have Facebook, and y'all should be friends. If they have an Instagram, you should have an Instagram, and you guys should be friends. If you're not a computer person, you're not a social media person, then find someone in your family who can be friends with your son or friends with your daughter, and it's their responsibility to help monitor them, to help watch the things that they're posting, because whatever a person is doing in their heart usually shows up on their social media. And be available to talk to your teen daily. Good communication supports good decisions. Write that down. If you just write that, wherever you are, write that down. Good communication supports good decisions. Keep that in your mind. So talk to your teenagers daily. Have daily talk time. Ask them how their day went. How was school? How was practice? How was your classes? Did you get upset today? Did anyone say anything to you? Have that communication. Keep that communication open, because that's going to help to empower your teenager to remain abstinent, knowing that they can come to you and talk to you without feeling threatened or without feeling condemned. That's important. Okay. Female are targeted at a higher rate than males by sexual predators. That's why we got to make sure that we're doing our best to protect our sons, protect our daughters, especially. The average age at which a teen are first exposed to pornography on the internet is 8 years old. Now that number decreases. That number goes lower the moment you give that kid a cell phone. I've seen kids as young as 5 years old with their own cell phone. Maybe the father doesn't live in the house with them or whatever the case. And dad, one Christmas, says, I want my son to have a cell phone because I want to be able to talk to him without having to come through the other parent. And so they buy them a cell phone. But when you give that kid a cell phone and that cell phone is connected to the internet, then ladies and gentlemen, you just know that there is a huge chance that kid is going to be viewing pornography when you give that kid that cell phone. And there are types of phones that you can purchase for your kid that's not necessarily a smartphone, that they can still make phone calls, but not necessarily get on the internet. And so just consider what you're doing when you're giving that kid that, because it's our job as parents, it's your job as your kid's parent to make sure that you're making those kids as safe as possible. In one study, 75% of concept music videos Those that told a story involved sexual imagery, and more than half involved violence, usually against women. So keep that in mind. So as your kids are watching these videos and watching these things, that there's an image being planted in their subconscious, an image being planted in their minds. And so 75% of those videos have sexual content, sexual imagery, and including violence. So keep that in mind. All right. So why do teenagers not want to talk to parents? Why do teenagers not want to talk to parents? Let's talk about that. Okay. Here is just an acronym. Be wise. I hear a lot of parents come to me and they say, Mr. Love, my kid just won't talk to me. They just won't talk. But kids are talking to someone, and kids want to talk to their parents, but there may be a reason why kids are not talking to you. And let me pause right here and just say again, if you're watching this, do me a favor. We need you to write your name and the city that you're viewing this from. Please write your name and the city that you're viewing this from. This helps us. This is a grant-funded program. And because it's a grant-funded program, we have to reach so many people during a certain time limit. Your name helps us to keep this program running. Just writing your name and the city where you're watching this from helps us to keep this grant-funded program going, helps us to reach more children. Will you help us? And here's how you can help. Simply type in your name and the city that you're watching this from. This helps us keep the finances going for this program, to keep our grant funding, and it keeps us going into the schools, reaching more and more teenagers and young people, even teens and preteens, with this powerful message that's going to potentially save some of their lives. Okay, here's wise. Be wise with your children. Be wise. Number one is be welcoming, be available, treat each other with respect and trust. So be wise, be welcoming. When your kid come in, welcome them, welcome the conversation, treat them with the utmost respect. Remember that a little boy's love language, or a little boy needs to be honored almost more than he needs to breathe. And a little girl needs security. A little boy needs honor. A little girl needs security. She needs to know that what she says is not going anywhere, that she can come to you and talk to you. So be welcoming with your teenagers. Don't ever be short with them. Don't ever say bad words to them or run them away from you. No, always be welcoming. Look at the I is to be interested. Ask your teenager questions about their opinions, about their friends, about their school or movies. Be interested in their conversation. Be interested in what they're talking about, because I know that sometimes teenagers come in the room and they're saying things and you have no idea as a parent to what they're talking about. They'll come in, they'll say something, you're just looking at them like, what in the world? They'll show you a video on their phone and you have no idea what they're talking about. Like, you have no idea. But just be interested. Ask questions. If you don't understand, ask questions, because teenagers love to share what they've learned with their parents. They just love it. They love it. Unless you have not been interested in what they're thinking. You've not asked them questions, their opinions about their friends. If you're not interested in them, then they can just as easy not be so interested in you. So be interested in your team, be interested in what they're going through, be interested in their life. That's important. And also be supportive. That's the S and the Y's. Be supportive of their goals. Ask your teens about what their goals are, what their long range goals, short range goals, and share your support. Be supportive of whatever they want to do. If that's, I say that respectfully. Within reason, because you know your child, that there's a way, because sometimes kids have these, let me say it like this. Your kid wants to be a football player, but he weighs 98 pounds and he is 5'1". Okay, well, you don't want to crush his dreams, but you weigh 98 pounds and you're 5'1", and you want to be an NFL football player. Well, there's a way that you can still support him being aspiring while still helping them to see some things realistically. And sometimes you have to allow a kid to experience some things so they can realize that the thing that they want to do may not be the best thing for them. And sometimes you have to just let kids experience some things. So you may have to let them go dress up and put a helmet on and go out there and get tackled a couple of times to kind of see that, man, maybe that's not the best choice for you. But don't ever crush their dreams. If they're aspiring and that's what they want to do, let them know, baby, if you want to be a football player, here's some things that you're going to have to do in order to do this. Or if they want to own their own business, and you said, but they want to own their own business, but they're terrible with money. Okay, well, baby, if you want to own your own business, then here are some things that you have to do. So make sure that you're supportive of that goal. And lastly, be encouraging, educating, and empowering. That's important. Be encouraging, educating, and empower that kid. Give your team the guidance, information, and skills to be successful. Give them the tools that they need. Your kids need the tools. Tell them what they need to do. Give them the education, and always be empowering to that teenager. Because when you do that, again, that helps us in the classroom. What you're doing at home helps us in that classroom, because the same things that we're asking you to do are the same things that we're going to be working with your kids in the classroom. We're going to be welcoming to them. We're going to invite them to talk to us. We're going to be interested in your teenagers. We're going to ask your teen questions. We're going to be talking to them, their friends, schools, movies. And so all of that's a part of the curriculum. Everything that I'm giving you guys now are things that are built into the fabric of the curriculum. And so I want you guys to know that when we come into the classroom and we're working with your kids, you need to know that your kids are getting a quality abstinence educational program. And so we encourage you guys to walk with us. Let's talk about teen pregnancy just for a moment. More than blank, facts about the girls, more than blank sexually active girls under 17 become pregnant every year in the United States. What's your answer? What do you think the answer is? 500, 1,200, or 800,000? More than blank sexually active girls under 17 become pregnant every year in the United States. What do you think the answer is? Let's look at it. More than 800,000 girls under 17 become pregnant every year in the United States. That's alarming. That's one of the numbers we're going after. That's why we're going into your child's school. That's why we want to be there, so we can help reduce that number. We do not want your child, your teenage girl, to be a part of that number, be part of that statistic. Let's look at another one. More than blank teenage girls get pregnant every day in the U.S. 1,200, 1,500, 2,700. What's your answer? More than blank teenage girls get pregnant every day in the U.S. What's your answer? Got it? Let's look at it. More than 1,200. Some of you got that right. More than 1,200 teenage girls get pregnant every day. So that means that tonight, before you go to bed, about 1,200 girls will be pregnant in the U.S. You know what's going to happen tomorrow night before you go to bed? About 1,200 girls are going to be pregnant. You know what's going to happen Thursday? But by the time you go to bed, 1,200 girls are going to be pregnant in the United States. That's how fast girls are getting pregnant in the United States. And it's also in East Texas, and it's also where you live. It's also where you live. And we're working to reduce those numbers, because those numbers need to go down drastically. And that's why we have the abstinence program. Let's look at another one. 1 out of blank sexually active girls will have a child by the time they're age 18. 1 out of blank sexually active girls will have a child by the time they're age 18. 20, 5, or 50. What do you think? Got your answer? Let's look at it. 1 out of 50 sexually active girls will have a child by the age 18, by the time she is 18 years old. By the time she's 18. I don't want your child to fall into that. What percentage of teen mothers in the U.S. will graduate from high school? What percentage? 25, 75, 50, or 13? What percentage of teenage mothers will graduate? What do you think the answer is? Let's look at it. The answer is 50%. Did you get that right? 50%. That's so half of the girls who get pregnant will actually graduate. What happens to the other half? Well, they don't. They don't get a high school diploma. They may end up on government assistance. They may end up, some of them may circle back later on in life and go get a GED. Some of them may get a GED and go off to college. But the 50% of teenage girls who get pregnant don't finish high school. That's sad. That's alarming. That should make all of us as parents stand up and say, okay, we need to do something about teen pregnancy in the U.S. Well, guess what? We are. That's what the Excellent Teen Choice program is doing. We're offering this to your students, to your school. And so again, now let me say this: if you're watching us, if you're watching this right now, we are a grant-funded program, and we want to be in your schools. And one of the ways you can help us is to type your name and the city that you're watching from, the name and the city that you're watching from. Just type your name and the city that you're watching. That helps us. We're a grant funded program. If you guys know anything about grants, that we have to reach a certain amount of people. We have to be in front of a certain amount of people. We normally would do parent nights at a school or at some type of auditorium, but because of social distancing guidelines, now we have to do this virtually. So again, thank you for watching this virtually. And so please put your name and the city that you're watching from so that we can use that in our reporting. We can just, we're using those numbers to say, hey, we were able to reach this many adults. What about the percent of teen moms who live on welfare? What do you think that percentage is? 50%, 80%, 15%, or 5%? What do you think the answer is? Let's look at it. 80% of teen moms end up on welfare. 80% end up on welfare. You see why we're pushing our kids to abstain, to save sex until marriage? This is why. Blank is the 100% sure way to avoid teen pregnancy: birth control, kissing, or abstinence. Well, you're smart. You're a parent. You know that answer. Abstinence is the only 100% sure way to avoid teen pregnancy. Now, let me say here that we are an abstinence-only program. We're abstinence. We're not comprehensive and no stretch. We're abstinence only, which means that we're not bringing condoms into the class. I wouldn't do that. We're not telling kids to use a condom or wrap it up and all that. That's not what we do. We promote abstinence. That is the willful choice to abstain, to not have sex until marriage. And it's not just sexual abstinence, sexual from risky behaviors, drugs, alcohol, and even vaping. Now, we are encouraging those kids, and not just encouraging them. We're giving kids practical ways, practical methods, things that they can do, refusal skills. How do you refuse? If someone is offering you drugs or offering you a vape or offering you alcohol, how do you refuse? We're teaching these kids. And so we have an eight lesson. We're usually in your schools for either 8 consecutive days, or we're in there for at least 8 times. We're in front of your kids 8 times. It's an amazing curriculum. We do what's called a pre-survey that kind of tests where the kids are thinking before going through the curriculum. And then we do a post survey after they've gone through all 8 lessons. We do a post survey, and then we come back after we do the post survey, and the kids do it's not community service. I forgot the name. It just escaped me. So they do something like, it'll come to me in a moment, but they do something like community service. We get out into the community, or they do something at their school. Service learning, that's the word, service learning. We do what's called service learning. Thank you, Miss Sharon. I know you were yelling that to me from the conference room. We do service learning, and we do a service learning project with all of our kids, because at the end of the program, we teach our kids how to give back, because we've given them so much, and we teach them how to give back. And there's so many cool things that our kids do in their service learning programs. All right, what about the guys? Let's talk about the guys for just a moment, and then I'll let you guys go, and I'll actually have any questions. Teenage fathers average over a total of 11 years of education. When a girl becomes pregnant, the father doesn't find out until the child is older. Does he have the financial responsibility for that child? So let's say a girl gets pregnant, she doesn't tell him, and he doesn't find out until the child is older. Does he have responsibility? Well, you guys know the answer to that. Of course he does. Will the father escape financial consequences if he walks away? You guys know that. He doesn't escape. So if your son gets someone pregnant and he says, well, that's not my kid or whatever, but if it's proven that it's his kid, then now you're a teenage boy has to deal with those consequences. Now he's having to come out of his pocket, or you as a parent having to pay on his behalf. A teenage father in his college years, may want to marry a different girl. Do you think he should tell his new fiance about his child from his previous relationship? So now he's got a kid, he wants to marry someone else. You think he should tell that person? Well, that becomes difficult to say, I've got a kid by this other girl. How do you think his fiance would feel knowing that a future husband will be paying child support until his baby is at least 18 years old? So she's getting involved with him, but he's paying child support. I mean, he's got $400 or $500 a month coming out of his paycheck going to pay for a child that he fathered when he was a teenager. And so teenage boys have some consequences as well. Consequence of adolescent teen mothers, more likely to be born premature and have low birth weight babies, more likely to suffer poor health, more likely to grow up in a house without fathers, and more likely to run away from home. That's for adolescent mothers. Consequence, some of the consequences. Um, Far more likely to be physical abused, abandoned, or neglected. Poor perform much worse in school. Daughters are more likely to become teen moms, and some are more likely to be in prison. Now, I shared this one time at a parent meeting, and a parent got offended because she said that when she was a teen parent, and that none of those things happened to her. And I said, that's amazing. It's good, because there are some teenagers who get pregnant and they're able to raise the standard, raise the bar, and none of those things happen. That is amazing. If that happens, that is good. We're not saying that this happens to everybody. We're saying that these are some of the likely consequences. These are some of the consequences that could happen if a teenager has a child early or as a teenager. Consequently, adolescent mothers and fathers, lower levels of education, higher rates of single parenthood, and even majority live in poverty or on welfare. And that's just, these are proven statistics. These are not things that we're making up. These are proven statistics. Kids having kids cost our society $29 billion a year. $29 billion a year. That's a lot of money. All right, you guys, that's been it for me. It's been fun. If you have any questions, please text your questions. Send your questions in at the bottom. Let us know what your questions are. We'll do our best to get back to you to answer those questions. And again, remember that this is a grant-funded program. It's a grant-funded program. I've got some news coming in. Grant-funded program, and we need your name. Please type your name in the bottom. Please type your name in the bottom, and the city where you're watching me from. Okay, this just in, ladies and gentlemen. We serve the following counties. We serve the following counties. Excellent Teen Choice serves the following counties. We serve Panola County, Gregg County, Harrison County, Rusk County, and Excellent Teen Choice offices are located at 109 South Sycamore Street. That's 109 South Sycamore Street in the great city of Carthage, Texas. Again, 109 South Sycamore Street. And you can find us at www.etc, Excellent Teen Choice, .etcteens.org. That's www.etcteens.org. And also that number is 903-694-2664. And again, we serve Panola, Gregg, Harrison, and Rusk County, and you can find us there. We are inspiring teens to make excellent choices today for tomorrow's success. Keep that in mind. That's our tagline. We're inspiring teens to make excellent choices today for tomorrow's success. Listen, we appreciate you guys. Appreciate you. Thank you as a parent. Again, let us know if your child has gone through the program. And again, remember, we need your help. So please type your name and the city that you're watching from. Please type your name. Let us know that you're here. Let us know that you're watching. Let us know that you support what we're doing in your school. Again, we service Panola, Gregg, Harrison, and Rusk County. And you can find us online at etcteens.org. My name is Eric Love. I'm the senior facilitator. I love talking to your kids. I love going to the schools. I love making a difference. And we're going to do our best to continue to do so. So on behalf of myself and Ms. Sharon Jones-Robertson, who's our executive director, we say to you, we look forward to seeing you once again in the school district in the future. Remember, we're inspiring teens to make excellent choices today for tomorrow's success. So we'll see you in the classroom.